All right, welcome back, Femme.
Hey,
We
fam.
we love you guys. We're excited to bring you another episode of Just Us because we know you missed
Oh my
us.
God, I know.
But don't
It's like
worry.
only been 4 episodes ago.
Yeah, and we've got lots more guests coming up this season too, but we decided we just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit because we wanted to update you on some shows we've been on, and we wanted to talk about something that keeps coming up over and over again. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Recently, we've been on D'Angelo Thompson's show, Gratitude and
Beauty and Gratitude.
Beauty and
Yep.
Gratitude. Apologies. And then we were also just on our favorite filmmaker Noam Kroll's podcast, Show Don't Tell.
Mhm.
So if you guys haven't tuned into those already, they're amazing. Their shows are so uniquely different and both offer such great advice to people who are navigating their careers. And I think Tess and I noticed from both interviews and things that have come up just overall from other past interviews that we've just been on,
Oh,
is that we get
wait,
asked.
before we say what it is, speaking of past
Yeah.
interviews, I just want to let everybody know on our website, there's a whole list of every show that we've been on, every interview that we've had written up about us. So make sure you check that out.
Yeah, that's like the easiest way, definitely, to go see them all. So yeah, Tessa, thanks for plugging that in. No, that's huge. It's all there. So if you hear this, that's the best way to go find it
Yeah.
all. Is right on our website. And the topic that keeps coming up for us is how to get through the fear and the feeling of imposter syndrome
Mhm.
and how we battle that. And I think it's come up because people ask us, like, what is the one thing that maybe you have to fight, or how do you own the producer title or
Mhm.
filmmaker title, or how do you go about making your first feature film when maybe I don't like, if a filmmaker feels they don't have an audience yet
Mhm.
or hasn't done enough yet. I mean, we all, I feel, collectively in the community can feel that.
Yeah.
Feel those feelings of, I can't call myself a director. I haven't really done this huge director, whatever you think would qualify you to do that, or to step in and own that title. And I think, I guess I'll go ahead and mention the first things that come into mind. And if you want to chime back
Mhm.
in, for me, I think the first way to kind of combat those fears is just to accept the things you've done and value them for what they are,
Yeah.
and without being so critical. I mean, we're all going to be so critical of our work, but know that it's a process. But if you don't give yourself the permission and to have that title, no one else will, and no one's going to. It's something we all have to fight for whatever it is that we're trying to do.
Yeah. And as long as your
Um
work is out there, like if you have something, it doesn't even matter if it's good because we're all going to start from the beginning, right? It's probably not going to be that good in the very beginning. But as long as you have something out there, you can call yourself a creator. No matter what,
yeah.
like, type of artist you are, from an actor to a filmmaker to a painter to a musician, doesn't matter. Because I think the arts is a really tough career to have because it's like, it's hard to really measure your success unless you're,
Mhm.
A-list or whatever. But yeah, as long as you're creating things and putting them out there, that means you're doing it. That means you are technically a filmmaker, actor, musician, whatever it is, that you're putting out. So pat yourself on the back for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, fam. Give yourself that pat and know that exactly, we all have to start somewhere. But if you don't give yourself the permission, it's going to be a lot harder to get feedback
Mhm.
to you're going to weigh the opinions of others much more on yourself, because it comes back to who you are as an artist and how you're going to ground yourself and keep going.
Yeah.
So I think that would be like step 1. And then I think the second step is, if you worry about, again, not having enough followers or a community that's already behind you. Again, doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And it's important to just, like we have always talked about it, and I don't want to, I want to maybe dig in deeper, then, it starts by putting your work out there, by
Mhm.
just shooting the damn thing
Yeah.
and to keep going. But
And you can start making your community too with like, it doesn't have to be your quote unquote followers. It doesn't even have to be
exactly.
necessarily the audience that's watching your films, but start with people you can work with, actually on your team of making that film. Start with mentors, start with, friends and family. They're always going to support you, like build your audience with who you know and who is going to help you out in the beginning. And then you will get those fans. You will get those people that see what you're creating and they're tuning in because they want to see more, even though they don't know who you are, like they just know your name. It's going to build and exponentially, but like you don't have to start with a huge audience, just know that.
And this is coming from your Femme girls, Carolina and Tessa, who didn't we if you're new to the show and haven't heard us before, we come from an actor background. And so we came into the film community with really limited contacts
Mhm.
because
Except for other actors. We knew a lot of other actors.
We knew a lot of other actors, but the film community we now know today it's night and day different. We literally like didn't know anyone, and I think it's important to know who you want to get in contact with.
Mhm.
So even if you have to do some networking and outreach, everyone, if you do it, we've talked about this on the show before too, but to network, even if you send a nice message and stuff and like try to build a community with people, like let's say you are a director and want more director contacts or people. I mean, if you can find the right people to network with, meaning, obviously we'd all love to hit up Tarantino with a DM, but he's not, I don't think he has an Instagram, first of all, but those people aren't going to respond. So, set up the expectation, but go for it. Try to network and build contacts. And again, yeah, it takes a lot of people to, that all takes time too, because, and you have to be patient, but, and what's a great way to connect with someone is limiting that time to just like, hey, can I get 5 minutes on the phone with these specific questions?
But also to give them something too. Like, because that's a big thing that I think helps specifically with imposter syndrome is like you don't want to reach out to people because you're like, why would they help me? Who am I to them?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have something that you can offer them, like they can't ever be upset that you contacted them. Maybe they can say, no, I'm sorry, I don't have the time to, let you pick my brain or whatever that is that you're asking, but they're never going to be upset and they're going to respect you because you reached out to them to offer them something too.
Right. And if you feel like you don't have, I think that gets tricky though, because I don't know if everyone has, like for us, we have a podcast that we can offer, a platform for them to speak on their work or, to connect with others. But I think even if you don't have like something really tangible to offer, that's why I go back to like, keeping it concise, like, hey, just 5 minutes, or I can email you is a better way. If I can even get an email response to certain questions about the industry, be really specific and keep it respectfully short if you don't have something that you can really give back. Because sometimes you don't, you just need advice.
I think
but
though you
that's
can
what I'm
be
saying.
creative with it sometimes. Like think about like with casting, for instance, your give is literally giving them a good audition because you fit what they're looking for in hopes that you can solve their problem. So like you can kind of get creative with what you're giving too. And I know like I belong to several actor groups on Facebook, and it's always like if you have an ask for the group, you've got to give a give too. So, it's in that post, you'll ask your request of whatever, and then you'll give like, hey, I'm really good at social media. So if anybody ever needs help, hit me up. I'll help you, do whatever. Like
That's cool.
You can get creative.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks for pimping that out. That's really smart. And so with that, I think that's like the second way I would say to like fight imposter syndrome is to build your network, find mentorship, like Tessa, you mentioned too. And that takes time too. Like we've had some, we'll spill the tea, like not horror stories, but people that specifically maybe men that you try to get mentorship and then it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't go the right direction, and you just are, it can be challenging and hard, and then you feel like am I worth anything then?
Mm-hmm.
As like, was I not even like, were they not even interested in my project really? It was just, me. So just know like that takes time too. And you got to listen to your gut on that and feel like who's really there to support you and help you, and always take public coffee shop dates. Like never anything else to everyone out there.
Well,
But
I mean, that's what's, unfortunate. And it's certainly not just our industry or the arts in general. It's everywhere, but yeah, you've got to be smart. You've got to be like, we know how the world is working right now, unfortunately, but you've just got to be smart about it. Like you said, take public meetings with people and, don't agree to anything that makes you uncomfortable. And, because some people are going to take advantage of people that they view as desperate. So don't be desperate.
Don't be thirsty, you hoes. Okay, I'm done.
Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. I'm Shane O'Hare of the Geekscape Games Podcast, the #1 video game podcast on the Geekscape.network. Join myself, Derek Krenevelt, and a guest every fortnight as we discuss video game news, video game reviews, and dissections. That's Geekscape Games every 2 weeks on Geekscape.net.
And I think the third thing, if you are fighting, like there's a roadblock from you going for it. I do think going for it, like let's put an example, your first feature film, like where Tessa and I are at actually right now. And to say that, me especially, because I'm writing this story I go back and I did, not anymore, but I did in the beginning, with Tessa, go back and forth. Like, are we really ready for this? I feel like maybe it should just be a short. Like, should we really go for the feature film? And, this is why it's good to have a support team and a network around you. Cause, Tessa's there pumping me up, being like, yeah, we got this. We're ready for it. We got to just do it. But to take it back, we did film several shorts already. And we've learned so much to the point where we'll only continue learning now by doing it. So that's something to note up too. Like if you've never shot a single thing in your life, start with a short film, honey. Like, let's do short form. You're going to learn a lot. But if you've done, and that's to say, I mean, everyone's different, like assess your work and where you're at and where you're comfortable. But I think everything's a little uncomfortable if you've never done it before. Yeah. So just have that reassurance. But I don't think you have to feel like you need the best short film in the world first to have won so many awards to have the confidence to do the next challenging thing of a feature film. Like, don't feel like, everything is gonna be its own thing until like you finally hone the whole craft itself, I think you can always work on like we could get stuck in just trying to make the best short film ever.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, I feel like you said, everything's like awkward, everything's scary when you first do it, but like you gotta start somewhere. You gotta just do it, or else you're gonna be one of those people that keeps saying they're gonna do something and never doing it. And that is not what we were about here at Femme. So
no. And that's what's like, we've been, to speak back to imposter syndrome and how we felt about ourselves. And that's why we're having the podcast. And, from the very beginning, we're like, oh, we're bringing all these filmmakers who are so accomplished. And here we are not having really shot the big award-winning short film, the big feature film. We haven't done that yet. And it was definitely hard in the beginning. At least I can speak for myself, kind of like fighting and be like, okay, we're promoting this show and who are we to talk about it? But we just quickly were like, that's not what we're about. We're not here to lecture you guys on like, this is filmmaking 101. But we hope that we can shed light on our experiences and others and what works for them and for us and our failures.
I mean, I think we can
cry about it together, or we can laugh and love.
I think we can
Sorry.
confidently say that we have done that because people have come back to us grateful for what we've shared with them, you know? And so like that's proof right there, man. It's like our audience appreciates what we do, you know? So
I was just saying from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
like to take it back to where we started Femme Regard podcast, like that's definitely, again, to speak to imposter syndrome. But if I sat in that, we wouldn't have this amazing
Right.
show. And now to have like the amazing feedback we've had. So that's, again, like just to normalize who we are as humans, like on the scale of even doing this show was a thing we just had to like push through the discomfort of feeling like we aren't anybody to be talking about it. And now we're at a point where it's like, okay, like I don't care what anyone thinks about our trajectory because it's unique to us and we know where we're going. And my favorite thing to like think about is you can't be moving backwards if you're moving forwards. Like if you're constantly trying to, again, write the next script, and let's say you had a failed script or like something didn't work out. Okay. But if you're not stuck and you're okay, moving to the next project, you're not failing. You're just you're moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I would say, you know, if anyone feels like, oh, like, I don't know, I didn't have a win yet. Well, the next go around, but it's actually a win to just keep going.
Yeah.
Like many people get stuck or stay back and don't move forward.
Any progress is progress, even if it seems super tiny.
Yes, honey.
Forward moving in the right
I love
direction.
that. Yeah, and that's like where we're at with our next feature, our first and next feature film. We had another one. We talked about this before too on our show. We had another one in our works that we haven't given up on, and we're gonna circle back to and hope to complete it. It's just we know, you know, the trajectory of where our projects need now that we're more educated on budgets and what it takes, the capacity. Just from having this show that's been so wonderful, we're like, okay, we got to move things around. And that can sometimes feel like a setback. And so if you guys have to like move projects around or, you know, don't look at that as a setback. You're just trying to take in the data, reanalyze, and then keep going. You know, that's when you get stuck because you're like, oh shit, like this feels like it's so hard. You know, and you get stuck. I think that's a place you don't want to be in, and you just gotta find a solution and keep going. Well, because I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I think, and I mean, making a movie is hard. It takes time. It's like people that do just like rattle off shorts all the time. I'm like, I don't know how they fucking do it unless they have no other like day job or life because, and I mean, kudos to them, but I couldn't imagine doing that. I mean, I know Carolina and I, if you guys don't already know, like we've both got full-time jobs. Like we don't have time to just make films all the time, you know, but that's what is most important to us. So we do, when we take the time, want to make sure that we're putting all the effort in, you know, and doing it right. So that's why it does take us a little longer, you know, but yeah.
We have to like, you know, especially if like especially in the beginning stages when you're like self-funding some of, you know, parts of it, that's why it's more precious to us a little bit, that we just make sure everything is, you know, good to go because we want to keep the momentum going. That's the thing. We don't want to have to start and be like, okay, now we have to figure out the rest of this because we didn't do pre-production correctly or, you know, like all of that comes in stages. So it's okay to be patient if you are comparing yourself to other people who are just constantly pumping it out. That's great. I think the people that I've seen, I think for just based on our show, the people that I think are able to then, you know, make the full feature thing, they have everything, you know, chronologically. I can't say it.
Chronologically.
Go for it. Thank you.
Yes, girl.
Happy Monday. It's Monday for us here in LA. Tessa and I have been Facebook campaigning all morning. Ooh, guys.
Yeah, if anybody's really good with
learning.
Facebook ads, let us know.
No, we're learning, and I can't wait for one day for us to share our wisdom and knowledge with you guys, because it's a whole crazy world. Oh my gosh. But yeah, if you do have tips, please send us an email. We'd love to connect with you. But hopefully we can give you guys some tips in the future, because that's, I think, is we'll see, but it should be something that would pay off to help with life.
If you line everything up and you do it in the proper order, then you're prepared. Then you're ready to go. Then you have no surprises that you have to worry about. And I mean, okay, it's filmmaking. There's always going to be surprises. Something's always going to go wrong. But like, for the most part, you're going to be ready. You're not going to have something that you're like, oh shit, that costs an extra $1,000 that I don't have in the middle of filmmaking, or in the middle of the, filmmaking process. Like, be prepared. Get everything down on paper in the right order. Get your ducks all lined up in a row, or whatever that saying is, and you'll be ready to go.
So some pasta on the wall.
Your listeners are going to be like, what?
I know. Tune into season 1 or don't. But yeah, exactly. That is what I'm trying to say. And then like, okay, let's say you, for example, you get your funding and you don't have your finalized script and you have all your investors like, like ready to go, like you're going to look unprofessional and maybe lose that money, from the investor pool, like things like that. That's why it's just like, make sure you have a solid story first and foremost. It's done. That's something I've learned. Like, I just want to know my story is solid, and then we can take it and change it. Cause yeah, again, things will change. That is normal. But I think, yeah, exactly. Get everything lined up for you. So, and that'll also help you fight imposter syndrome. You know your vision, you know your story, you know where you want to go with it. Have all those answers already answered, because then you'll feel less stupid talking to people.
It's true.
Be like, it's so true. Just be like, I know exactly where I want this to go. This is the audience and why. Like, just have any answer, or look up questions that people might ask, or do some research, or talk to people like, okay, if I go into this meeting, what are the questions that might come up? Or, have all those figured out. And I feel like you'll even feel more prepared, just knowing, okay, I really feel like I could answer any question about my project or who I am in this role. It could be for a job, like for directing, like, no way. It's like prepping for interview on LinkedIn. Like, they're like, okay, do a interview prep. Yeah, do that for if you're trying to book a job or a gig, or, sell your film. Like, I think the more questions you already have pre-answered, you'll also feel very much more confident, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. The more you're prepared for anything going into it, the better, or the more confident you're going to feel about it. And the more confident you feel, people can read that, it's like an energy thing. People can tell when you're nervous. People can tell when you're like not comfortable answering the questions or whatever, so yeah, prepare, then you can be confident, and then you're going to go into it and they're going to see that.
What's like a Tessa morning pep talk that you give yourself?
I don't know if this is necessarily a morning pep talk, but I do like to actually like practice things out loud. Like, I will totally talk to myself in my apartment and like act out a scenario of, what I think an interview would be, for instance. Or if I'm not saying it out loud, I'm at least like literally thinking it through like a script, that just really prepares
so
me.
Funny. I do the same thing, girl.
I think a lot of people 100%. Do.
Yeah, I
think it's one of those things we don't talk about, but everybody does,
Well, guys, if you're listening, DM, be like, yep, I talk to myself all the time.
Let us know we're not crazy.
Let us know we're not crazy. But to even like, what I'll do though is like take notes on what I'm saying out loud too, like the best phrases. Like, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Because if you're like me, who can definitely go on tangents and ramble. Sorry, listeners. This is why we don't do solo sessions. Just kidding. You love me. It's all good. Yeah, I'll take notes of the best points. And so that way, especially if it's a phone kind of call or interview, I have my points already listed. So like, I'm not going to like verbatim. I don't want it to be like fully scripted, but I'm like, oh yeah, these are
look at that phrase. Excuse me, hold.
I mean, sometimes I'm just like, when you're nervous, your brain kind of blacks out. For me, when I get nervous, it kind of blacks out. And then I'm just stuck trying to be like, oh shit, what was that word?
Right.
Or that like perfect thing that I could have said. And so, yeah, if I just take a little note of that and glance down, that totally helps me if you're like me and get nervous and kind of black out on calls. So, but again, that preparedness, there you go. Like, I'm prepared. I've talked it out. Now I have my bulleted points and I can get, again, keeping it short and simple with anyone is the way to go.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, but I love that. Thanks for answering my question, Tessa. I think those are like the three things that I feel like can help fight imposter syndrome. Know that you aren't alone in this at all.
Yeah, we all
and if you ever need, we all feel it. If any of you need a femme pep talk, DM us. We're more than happy to respond, tell you guys that it is okay if you're nervous. You got this, boo. We are here for you. So always feel free to reach out. We love that shit.
Yeah. We love connecting with you guys.
Yeah. And if you love us so much, please leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. That would help so much if you want to support your girls.
Yeah, rating and review, it helps push us up in their algorithm because, everything's all about algorithms these days. But the more reviews and ratings that we get really, really helps us. And it helps people who aren't already aware of us to discover us. So, yeah,
exactly.
We would really appreciate that.
We will. So on that note, keep creating, and we will catch you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in every Friday for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can also join the Femme Fam on Patreon. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.